I was saying, y'all, it's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and after some deep research, I'm finally here to present to y'all the case study of why Sam Howell should be the Washington Commanders franchise quarterback moving forward beyond just this 2023 season. I'm talking 2024 and beyond. We got to talk about everything. Of course, I'm going to have a lot of advanced stats. We got to talk about how he's grown, like how he looked before this last couple of game run, because these last couple of games have arguably been his best games. But has he been perfect the entire time? No, we got to talk about that. But of course, we also got to talk about where he's grown in certain areas from week one to where he is now. We got to talk about how he looked after this Patriots game. Of course, we got to take a look at a lot of the stats as well. Like, he's up there, top 10, top 5, number 1 in a lot of crazy quarterback stats, like number 1 in a few. So, of course, we got to make the case that, I mean, not only is he potentially a franchise quarterback for the Commanders, but is somehow one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL already. We also got to talk about the supporting cast around him, the lack of the run game, how many times a game he has to throw it, and things like that. So we're going to look at this with a lot of context. Of course, with receivers dropping passes as well. I have some film study plays to show y'all as well. Shouts out to everybody. I'm going to acknowledge everybody who presented the film, who like basically gave us access to it. I'm going to shout them out, and then I'm going to show y'all a few clips when I'm trying to present a certain angle or a certain point. We got to talk about his comparison and not only all of the younger quarterbacks that's in the NFL right now, but like Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, all of these guys. We got to compare them to all of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, like Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and things like that, where he stands there. Also, the argument between Sam Howell or Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, any of those guys, it's not just Howell versus that quarterback. We also got to look at the fact that it's Howell plus your first round pick, potentially an elite tackle, potentially an elite tight end like my boy Brock Bowers, maybe even both, depending on if you package some of those later picks and trade back up into the first round. It's Sam Howell and elite draft players that you could be drafting an elite tackle, elite tight end versus those individual quarterbacks. It's not just Sam Howell versus those quarterbacks. And even then, we got some things to talk about there as well. We also have to talk about how the Commanders feel about him. Like, we've gotten a couple of sneak peeks, some rumors, some reports here and there about how the Commanders feel about Sam Howell as of right now, potentially being a franchise quarterback. Jonathan Allen spoke highly of him after that Patriots game. So I'm going to play that clip as well. And of course, we also got to take a look at how the national media feels about Sam Howell. Is he getting talked about enough by everybody else as well? Or is this just a Commanders thing? So is this just one of our situations where we're falling in love with the quarterback that we currently have, or is the entire NFL landscape seeing the light when it comes to Sam Howell? So sorry for the long intro, just wanted to give you a full preview of everything that's going to go down in this video. Before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm the like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. All of that is free, but if you want to donate to the channel, saving up for a few things that's going to make this channel even better, especially live stream wise. I got some ideas for some live stream stuff, so if you want to support the channel, the Cash App is $RicoScores, and the PayPal is WilliamHC94@gmail.com. All of that information is in the description of this video, every live stream, everywhere, every time. And make sure you stay tuned, because of course I will be live streaming this upcoming game against the Seahawks, all 4 quarters, all of that, and I'm coming with more videos throughout this week as well. But without further ado, man, let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, so let's start with where Sam Howell was after the Eagles game. Well, Ian Rappaport tweeted something to the extent of, if the $6 billion question in Washington after yesterday's trades with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, all of them being traded out, I don't know if they need a QB. There's some people that think they don't. There's some people that think they do. If they do, the second rounder, the third rounder gets towards that. We'll bring that back up later when it comes to like Sam Howell versus Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, all of that type of stuff. But after the Eagles game, no, actually, during the Eagles game, like just that week alone, if we're just isolating that week of football, Sam Howell was first in attempts out of all quarterbacks in the NFL. First in yards, tied for first in touchdowns, 7th in completion percentage, 8th in adjusted completion percentage, 8th in CPOE, 12th in completed air yards and 14th in attended air yards. So he had a fantastic week against the Eagles, and that started a really excellent 2-game stretch. Also, yesterday's passing game is how to mask Sam Howell's proclivity to hold on to the ball and Washington's protection issues. So it's not just a Sam Howell thing, it's also an Eric Bieniemy thing. Shouts out to Grant Paulson for this tweet. Forgot to shout him out at the beginning of it, but this is like a shout out to the offensive line, Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell all together improving his opportunity, not getting hit as much. So first 7 passes of the game, 9 of the first 10 were all quick game, all quick. 4 first 7 passes were wide receiver screens. Ran 6 screens in the first half, 2 of them the running backs, and Howell's 7th fastest time to throw in week 8 out of all quarterbacks in the NFL. So they came in with a deliberate plan against the Eagles. We're going to get the ball out of Sam Howell's hands quicker. And again, that's credit to Eric Bieniemy for the game plan. That's credit to the offensive line for keeping them safe at least long enough for them to execute that. And then it's also credit to Sam Howell for going out there and executing it, because if you're throwing the ball quicker, that means you also have to read defenses quicker, either post snap or pre snap. You're realizing what's going on, and so either way it's an improvement some way, shape, or form all around for Sam Howell. On top of the fact we can't just give him all the credit again, Eric Bieniemy offensive line deserves something as well. Shouts out my boy Mark Bullock for pointing this out as well. I thought the Commanders quarterback Sam Howell had an excellent performance against the Eagles on Sunday. He said signs of growth, speeding up his mental process, handling the pressure, and he also broke down all 4 of his touchdowns. I'm telling you, man, that Eagles game was something serious. That felt like the start of something. Even though we didn't win the game, that felt like a start. And then the fact that he was able to put together consecutive good games against the Eagles and the Patriots, both good defenses, is really what sold me. After the Patriots game, I was like, yeah, this is the guy. Also, shouts out to 10 Top Podcast for pointing this out. After the Eagles game, Sam Howell was 5th in passing yards halfway through the season, while also taking 41 sacks, which is crazy. Now, against the Eagles, again, came in with a different game plan and limit that. But now, maybe we have something going. Maybe with the mix of Eric Bieniemy's game plan and Sam Howell knowing how to execute it to the fullest extent, now we maybe have something going on to where Sam Howell will take less sacks. He's 41 sacks through the season, but the majority of those, if we're talking on a per game basis, he was getting sacked at a minimum 5 games every game up until this Eagles game, I believe. It was terrible. Now, after the Patriots game, what's our boy Sam Howell looking like? Well, first of all, shouts out my boy Colin Dunphy, aka Mofo Pod on Twitter. He said over the last 2 games, Sam Howell has limited the percentage of pressures he's seen from being converted to sacks. Remember, a few weeks ago when I did an advanced stats breakdown on why the Commanders have just so many sacks allowed, and a lot of the blame was on Sam Howell's because he had a really serious, a lot of quarterbacks are getting pressured, but Sam Howell had an alarming rate of pressures that actually resulted in sacks, whereas other quarterbacks, their pressures wouldn't necessarily be sacks. Either they're escaping the pressure or they're getting it out of their hands quickly enough to where the pressure isn't a sack. Now he's apparently improved in that, and his scrambles have helped cancel out EPA lost on those sacks that have remained. So even when he does take a sack, the way that his pocket presence, his pocket awareness, his footwork, and his ability to scramble, his advanced ability to scramble, because he's always naturally been able to scramble, but now IQ wise, QB nuance wise, veteran wise, he's starting to learn the right way to scramble. It's not just about physically being able to, it's mentally knowing how to, when to, where to, all of that type of stuff. So that's improved a lot, man. So I'm really excited about how he's getting better and better. That's one of the major improvements there. Speaking of pressure, I mean, this play right here is a great example about how, like, maybe a few weeks ago, this isn't a completed pass, not let alone a touchdown, but now when he's used to dealing with pressure, he's able to step to the side and deliver a perfect throw on the run. Here's the clip right here so you can see it for yourself. The second angle is crazy. So you can clearly see how he's managing pressure better. And then also, during this past week, the Patriots week 9 of NFL football, CJ Stroud, with an historical rookie performance, was number 1 in passing yards with 470. Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow both balled out, had arguably their best games of the season, with Dak Prescott having 374 passing yards, Joe Burrow having 348. Then Sam Howell was 4th in passing yards with 325. And then distant 5th is actually Taylor Heineke for the Falcons, sadly in a loss though. It's crazy too, because 2 teams on this front cover, Dak Prescott and Taylor Heineke, lost 2 of the top 5 passing leaders from this past week, just isolating this week alone. Who threw for the most yards in week 9? Sam Howell is on that list. He's 4th. I mean, again, he's put together 2 consecutive great games, and that's what I've been asking for. Now, I'm still waiting. It's not like no matter what happens for the rest of this season, Sam Howell is our guy. I'm not saying that at all. But based on what I've seen so far, especially these past couple of games, if he can string that together and keep going on that same trajectory, being consistent, putting together consecutive great games, not good game, bad game, good game, bad game, he's the franchise guy. So let me preface with that. That is context. But before we start to get into crazy stuff, because we're going to compare him to a lot of the elite quarterbacks statistically as well, let's take a look at a lot of the young quarterbacks too. Like right now, out of all of the young QBs in the NFL, who's better than him? Honestly, are we talking Bryce Young? I mean, not right now. Kenny Pickett? Not right now. Jordan Love? Not right now. Mac Jones? Clearly not right now. Somehow outdueled him. Brock Purdy? Not right now. I hope people have woken up to that. Zach Wilson? Definitely not right now. So the only argument you may have out of all the like really young quarterbacks right now, we'll see how Will Levis develops. Maybe CJ Stroud. And I'm not going to lie, CJ Stroud has been balling out and he's had some ridiculous games. And again, I mean, a rookie record, going the most throws, completions without an interception, setting an NFL record there, setting an NFL record for most passing yards in a single game by a rookie. He's balling out. But statistically overall, Sam Howell is still outpacing him in a lot of stats. So CJ Stroud looks ridiculous. And yeah, he has less of a supporting cast than I would say Sam Howell has. So maybe you can only argue out of all of the really young quarterbacks, CJ Stroud is the only one better than Sam Howell right now. And the reason I'm emphasizing young quarterbacks is because you have these guys on these cheaper contracts. When we start talking about the guys out here eating up the majority of cap space on teams, we're going to get to compare Sam Howell to those guys as well. But when it comes to these young quarterbacks, the argument for a young quarterback in their favor is always you take that young quarterback that's making pennies. Well, Sam Howell's making pennies compared to what CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and all of those first round quarterbacks are making. But either way, young quarterbacks on their rookie contracts are not making the type of money that Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and these guys are making. Russell Wilson, they're eating up ridiculous cap space. So when you're just comparing them to the young quarterbacks alone, the argument is you have a young quarterback making cheap money. You have the resources, the cap space to build around that guy, to put a better team around them because you have more money to allocate to other position groups. So when it comes to comparing them to young quarterbacks, which is why I wanted to compare them to the young quarterbacks first, I mean, let's just look at his draft alone. I mean, the first quarterback taken was Kenny Pickett, first round, 20th overall. The next quarterback taken was Desmond Ridder in the 3rd round. Then Malik Willis in the 3rd round as well. Matt Corral in the 3rd round. I forgot he existed, I'm not going to lie. Then Bailey Zappi by the New England Patriots. And then you have Sam Howell. And Sam Howell is easily better than all of those quarterbacks taken in that same draft as him. It's crazy that his stock plummeted that far to where, I mean, Ron Rivera even admitted it. Like, we liked Sam Howell, but we would have taken him sooner if we like actually really felt like we needed a quarterback. They really believed in the quarterback room at that time. They just only took Sam Howell because it was like, well, best player available, this talent sitting here in the 5th round. Why is he sitting here? We might as well take him. And I guess when in doubt, we could trade him away to somebody after he looks good in the preseason. And then especially now after the season he's having, I mean, he's far outplayed that 5th round pick status, man. So moving on, let's take a look at some Sam Howell stats, and we're going to start to compare him to a lot of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Not just the young guys. We took some time to compare him to the young guys. He pretty much has everybody beat there. It's just between him and CJ Stroud right now. But after that, when comparing him to the elite guys, bro, he's not playing. First of all, Sam Howell went over 2,500 career passing yards after that Patriots victory. Howell becomes the first quarterback in franchise history to reach this mark in his first 10 career games. So arguably the best burgundy and gold quarterback through the first 10 games of either any of their careers goes to Sam Howell right now. statistically. There's a lot of things we can talk about, but statistically, man, he got it right now. Also, the passing leaders at the midpoint of the 2023 season through week 9, and of course, some teams have gone on bye week, so this is a little unfair. Once everybody has a bye week, and we don't have a bye week till forever, man. We don't have a bye week until December 10th, so Sam Howell's always going to be ahead. Have a slight lead on certain statistics like that just because our bye week's so late and a lot of other teams have their bye weeks earlier. But either way, through week 9, Sam Howell is second in passing yards, only behind Tua Tagovailoa. He's ahead of Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and literally everybody that is not named Tua Tagovailoa with that crazy passing attack right now with Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle keeps getting banged up, but still, I mean, that offense is crazy, man. Sam Howell versus Patriots blitz. This is really notable. I definitely wanted to take the time to point this out. Against the blitz, against the Patriots, and again, that was one of his biggest weaknesses up until he started to go on this little couple of games run right now. You can kind of go back and include the Falcons game a little bit as well. Blitzing was he was struggling with blitzes. All young quarterbacks struggle with blitzes. Like, that's just a thing you do. With young quarterbacks, you make things complicated. You switch up coverages. You show one thing pre-snap, change to something else post-snap. You act like you're going to blitz, send people back in coverage. You act like you're going to cover, send people to blitz delayed. Or you just straight up blitz, period. You dare them. Okay, we're showing we're about to send 7 at you. You only have 5, max 6 to block them. Figure something out. Even pre-snap, like, we dare you to figure something out. Young quarterbacks in general struggle with that. Sam Howell was no different, but he's improved. Against the Patriots blitz, he went 13 of 18, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and a 113 passer rating. That's improvement, guys. That's one of the best traits he has, the fact that he's constantly improving. We'll talk about that later when we're comparing him to Caleb Williams and all of those other guys, but I don't think y'all understand how valuable a guy that always improves is. Like, this just constantly getting better. No matter how bad of a game he has, he goes to the film room and he figures it out, and he'll know that same thing that worked against him previously will more than likely not work again. Now, I mean, law of averages, everybody's due to eventually have a bad game. Even Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen has the games where they just throw multiple interceptions. It happens. But in general, Sam Howell, like a lot of these elite quarterbacks out here, seems like he adapts, and that's big time. Also, Sam Howell, the last 5 games, and we're just taking the last 5 games into account of the NFL season, from weeks 5 through 9, he has 1,510 passing yards. That's first in the NFL. 10 touchdowns, tied for first in the NFL, a 66% completion percentage, and a 94.6 rating. Y'all better stop playing with my boy. Also, overall, out of the entire NFL from weeks 1 through 9, and again, we got to incorporate bye weeks as well, yes, but he's second in passing yards. We already talked about that. He's 4th in yards per game. So when we're talking about bye weeks, that per game thing takes the bye week out of it. If everybody has played the same amount of games, we're talking on a per game basis, he's 4th in yards per game there. So forget the bye week there. He's also 7th in passing touchdowns in total, 8th in total touchdowns, like just running, throwing, everything. First, big time in throws. He's first in big time throws. That's huge. 2nd in deep shots. And also, he's on a rookie deal with a 5th round salary. Again, we're going to talk about that later. But again, when we're talking about big time throws, he's first with 22. Tua is second with 21. Jalen Hurts is third with 20. Matthew Stafford fourth with 19, even though he's already missed a couple of games. And Josh Allen's 5th with 18. So Sam Howell right now has the most big time throws out of the entire NFL. Number one, people, literally number 1. So number 2 in passing yards, number 1 in big time throws. Also, advanced metrics, shouts out to Next Gen Stats for this one. Sam Howell is responsible for 5 completions with a completion probability of under 20% this season. That's the most in the NFL. So when it comes to tight window throws, a wide receiver in an ugly position, maybe there's pressure all over him, maybe he doesn't have a clean pocket, whatever stats go into calculating how a completion, the likelihood of the completion being completed by when the quarterback is throwing the ball. Sam Howell has the most completions that had a 20% chance of being completed or less. That's absolutely crazy. This guy balls out in spite of the circumstances around him. Also, you got to think about the fact that now on a per carry basis, our run game hasn't been that bad, but we just don't really run the ball. Eric Bieniemy, I love him. I love what game plans he's put together. And you can kind of say that a lot of the quick stuff we spoke about earlier is an extension of the run game. But at the same time, we don't really run the ball. So you're asking a young quarterback who's under his third offensive coordinator in 3 seasons. He had UNC, then he had Scott Turner for the Commanders last year and Eric Bieniemy this year. And he's only 9 games into that. You're asking a guy like that young, that's been through all of these different offensive systems over the past 3 years, to throw, it feels like 40, 50 times a game and not make a bunch of mistakes. I'm surprised he hasn't thrown more interceptions than he has already. Also, Sam Howell is on pace to finish top 10 all-time in single-season pass attempts. But he's also at the same time first all-time in sacks taken in a season and is on pace to throw for 4,667 yards with 28 total touchdowns and 22 total turnovers. He's literally having a Madden season. Shouts out my boy Zach Hicks too on Twitter. Literally having a Madden season. I mean, to have that many pass attempts, it kind of sounds inevitable that you would end up getting sacked more if you're on pace to finish with the 10th most passing attempts in a single season in NFL history. I mean, that just sounds like you're kind of destined for it. So again, that's a lot to put on a young quarterback. 10th most passing attempts in a single season in NFL history. And you're throwing that on technically a redshirt freshman that's only started 10 games in his NFL career so far. That's crazy. Then you also got to forget the wide receivers are dropping touchdowns like this. And so with all of that, for some crazy reason, earlier today, the 33rd team ranked their quarterbacks. And if you want to see that, here you go right here. It's absolutely shameful. So you're telling me that there's 20 quarterbacks better than Sam Howell with them having them ranked 21st right now? You're telling me there's 20? You're telling me Jordan Love, Mac Jones, who Sam Howell literally just outplayed, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Brock Purdy, all of those guys are better than Sam Howell? That's what you're telling me. Kyler Murray hasn't even played a game this season yet. We still got him above him. We have all of these quarterbacks over Sam Howell. Just tell me you don't watch the Commanders. Just go ahead and say that. You could have literally just said that, man. And so they feel like all of these, there's 20 quarterbacks better than Sam Howell, right? That's what they feel like. All right, let's take a look at 3 elite plays, and you tell me how many quarterbacks in the NFL can make these plays. Let's go ahead and start with this one right here. Shouts out my boy Popfather. Before you see the play, just know that my boy at the Burgundy Zone, make sure y'all follow him on Twitter, follow them on YouTube and everything. I'm on this show and all of that. Make sure you check them out. They are great content. He always breaks down film on Twitter and stuff like that. Here's this example play. Before I show it to y'all, I want to tell you what he said. He said Sam Howell attacks the cover 2 zone by hitting Jahan Dotson on a corner route, and that's not typical. You typically try to hit the middle of the field if it's cover 2 because the DBs, the safeties are deep back, and they're like, okay, you can't have anything outside, but you can have this inside. He still went outside and still hit it. He said pay close attention to Sam Howell's feet as well. He makes this 30-yard throw with his left foot caught in Leno's leg, and the ball is on the money. Here's the play right here. Oh, and we're not done. We're not done. Again, we have 3 elite plays to look at in a row, and a couple of more plays after that as well. Shouts out my boy Jamal at Let Maul Tell It. Make sure you follow him on Twitter as well. Breaks down film all of the time on Twitter, and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. He brought up a great point here. Still incredible that Howell was able to see anyone under this much duress. If you're looking at this play, how does he know Byron Pringle ends up getting open in the middle of the field? Let alone get the pass to a spot for Pringle Thomas to be able to make a play right here. 55 goes unaccounted for on the delayed rush and was on Sam Howell's tail immediately, man. I mean, like literally unblocked. And so this is a big improvement. Again, how Sam Howell was bad against the blitz previously. Now look at him against the blitz now. Here's the play right here. So you're telling me 20 quarterbacks in the NFL are doing that right now. 20 other quarterbacks can do that better than Sam Howell. Let alone better. Can 20 other quarterbacks in the NFL make that play ever in their career? Let me know. And then also, of course, this dot to Jahan Dotson. I already pointed this out in the game review where I do a whole breakdown of every position group for the entire Commanders team after L or win or whatever. Happened to be a win this past week, thank goodness. But when I was talking about Eric Bieniemy, I brought up the point that why are Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson run into the same spot of the field? Either this is the receiver's fault or it's Eric Bieniemy's fault. But either way, the fact that Sam Howell completed this ridiculous throw under these circumstances is absolutely insane. You have two wide receivers running the same route to the same spot with two DBs there because of it. And to deliver literally the perfect throw, Sam Howell literally can't even walk it up to Jahan Dotson and hand it to him in a better spot than this. Here's the clip right here. So you're telling me there are 20 other quarterbacks that can do that, can put the ball with that much precision, accuracy, and touch. I mean, it like the way it floated down perfectly. It wasn't like a line drive to where Jahan Dotson would have to struggle turning around. It's coming like perfectly, like a perfect like rainbow type of thing. Like that's touch. Accuracy is where it lands. Touch is how it gets there. The touch, the accuracy, the precision, the timing, everything is absolutely ridiculous. And again, for this guy to only be 23 years old is insane that he can do like things like this. So first of all, are there any quarterbacks that are 23 that can do that? How many quarterbacks that are 23 years old can do that when we're talking about comparing them to a lot of these other quarterbacks that people may prefer over Sam Howell, especially these younger guys? But also, again, back to my main point, there are 20 other quarterbacks that can do that. And then also let me know how many quarterbacks in the NFL can do this. And I'm not even going to give you any information before this play. Just watch the play itself, man. Like, come on, dog. 20 other quarterbacks. There are 20 quarterbacks that could do that better than him. Come on, man. 3rd and 23 and picks up the first down. All with his legs, made a couple of people miss, but most importantly, ran a few people over to get it. He may not be the fastest guy, but boy, he gonna figure something out. He gonna put a combination of traits together to make something shake. He's gonna put a team on his back every now and then in the game, man. I'm telling you, bruh, stop sleeping on my boy Sam Howell. They gotta chill out saying crazy stuff like that. Now, let's dive into what a lot of y'all are probably here for the most part. How versus draft quarterback. I have a few points to bring up here. I mean, basically the best way to look at it is, do you prefer to have Sam Howell and the elite left tackle like an Olufashanu, Joe Alt, or my boy Amarius Mims, and or Brock Bowers? Because again, maybe you can package some picks to where you take Brock Bowers first and you trade back up into the first round with some of our mid-round picks, especially that one we got from the Bears, that high second, and put in the third that we got for Chase Young as well from the 49ers. Maybe you could package those together, trade back up into the late first round, mid-late first round, and maybe take a tackle there. Maybe you don't get the best tackle in the draft, but you get one of the best tackles in the draft. So you get Brock Bowers and a really good, really a franchise. You get a franchise tight end, arguably. I mean, I think the day Brock Bowers hits the NFL, he's a top 3 tight end in the NFL. And I think he has the potential to be the best tight end in the NFL, but we'll see. Especially with Travis Kelce only getting older. So you Brock Bowers, top 3 tight end, and then a franchise left tackle and Sam Howell? Or would you prefer to take a lot of those picks that we could use on those players and trade up to get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Michael Penix? So again, when you're looking at this, it is not just Sam Howell versus Caleb Williams. Like, I don't know why a lot of people are looking at it like that. It's not Sam Howell versus Caleb Williams, Sam Howell versus Drake May, Sam Howell versus Michael Penix. It is Sam Howell and an elite tight end and or tackle versus Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Michael Penix. That's how you need to be looking at it. We got to take a look at resources. We can't look at things in a vacuum. We got to like take into account everything. And I'm telling you, man, to me, Howell and an elite left tackle and or an elite tight end, I take that over any of those individual quarterbacks, in my opinion, just based off of what I've seen from Sam Howell. Now, if Sam Howell wasn't good, of course. I mean, I've been king of tank and get a top quarterback in the draft for the past few years. So the fact that I'm the guy saying not to do that this year should tell you something. I've seen enough from Sam Howell to know, man. I'm also a guy that wasn't a big Sam Howell fan coming out of the draft. Coming out of UNC, I saw potential, but this regular season has shown me it's changed my view. I've seen the light. So if there's anybody that like that was doubtful of Howell in any way, that's been team trade up to get a top quarterback or tank to get a top quarterback, it's been me for the past few years. I've been screaming for us to do that. I've been telling y'all that being perpetually average, being in the middle, is the worst thing you could do. You're better off being terrible and getting top draft picks to get elite playmakers on both sides of the ball. Or, I mean, of course, everybody wants to be great, but that constant middle that we've been under Ron Rivera, if anything, just sets our rebuild back further and further and further. I mean, you never know. Maybe we could turn things around this next draft with elite talent and Sam Howell's your quarterback. Maybe we never have to rebuild, and I would hope we don't. But I mean, I'm the guy, again, my main point is I'm the guy that's been screaming draft a quarterback and trade up and get the #1 overall pick if you got to. And this year, I'm not saying that, because Sam Howell has shown me enough, again, with context, like I explained earlier in the video, that if he continues doing what he's doing right now, then I'm on the Sam Howell train. But of course, you never know. Maybe just as of this upcoming game against the Seahawks and thereon, he just suddenly forgets how to play. He gets space jammed, his powers away, and it ends up going to somebody else or something. Who knows? But I'm telling you, man, another way you got to look at it, it's not just Sam Howell, an elite left tackle, and/or an elite tight end versus those individual quarterbacks. It's also, you need to be looking at it as Sam Howell making $1 million a year versus a draft quarterback, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, depending on where they're going. More than likely, all three of those guys will be making somewhere around $9 million a year for their contract, where, again, Sam Howell is barely making $1 million per year in his contract. So, and then also, you got to remember, I mean, I don't know how true this is, but Caleb Williams is saying he wants ownership on top of everything, too. So let's take that into account. But even ignoring Caleb Williams' outlandish request for ownership as a drafted quarterback before you even make a single pass for the organization, Sam Howell's $1 million per year, an elite left tackle, an elite tight end, and/or both of those, one of them, whatever, versus that one quarterback making $9 million a year. I mean, you got to think about all of these things, man. It's not just the draft picks themselves, it's the money they're making and how it impacts the cap space, and whether you have more money to allocate to other positions on the team to make them better. That extra $8 million difference that you get from having Sam Howell versus one of those first round quarterbacks, you can throw that and potentially go and get yourself, even if that can't buy somebody itself, you add that $8 million to some other cap space, and that extra $8 million helps you reach the $20 million that one of these elite players on another at another position wants. You know what I'm saying? That $8 million can definitely be put to great use. That $8 million alone can sign the entire draft class. Also, on top of all of that, again, like I said, to me, I think Brock Bowers and trade up for an elite offensive lineman tackle. I mean, maybe even center, but I doubt center. That high in the draft, maybe, even though Cedric Van Pran is the best center in this draft. I know I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, but I'm putting my claim on that already. But I think the best way to go is Brock Bowers. And I'm gonna probably do a whole video on this alone, but just a quick sneak peek. Brock Bowers plays two positions, and Eugene Shin, I'm gonna do a whole video breakdown on that and like how he prefers to build teams, how he's done in history, and also what he said in a presentation at UAB. What are his priorities in rebuilding the team? What are the best positions you need? What are your most valuable positions? All that type of stuff. It sounds like tight end's going to be a big focus for us in the offseason, more than likely in the draft. Don't be surprised if we go and get a Brock Bowers. And again, I think that would be smart. You take Brock Bowers. There's no other Brock Bowers in this draft, but you can argue, depending on who you are, you may like Olu Fashanu more, or at tackle. You might like Joe Alt more, or you maybe like Amarius Mims, who has, he's been hurt for Georgia. He hasn't played a lot of games, but you can argue he has the highest ceiling I've ever seen from a tackle coming out of the draft. If we're just talking about pure God-given ability, natural born with this type of stuff, Amarius Mims is the freakiest tackle I've seen in at least a few years come out of the draft, even more than Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones, all of those guys. It's ridiculous. So maybe somebody prefers him. You get Brock Bowers. There's no other Brock Bowers, but we can have a debate about who's the best tackle in the class. You can't have a debate about Brock Bowers. You can't have a debate about Brock Bowers even comparing them to a lot of other drafts recently in the past few years. So I think you take the more elite, specialized alien that just doesn't come around, arguably generational player in Brock Bowers, and then you get the tackle later. That's my opinion, but that's kind of going away from the whole Sam Howell thing. That's more specific. I'm gonna do a whole video on that alone, but that's just kind of my logic right there. And then also, let's talk about the fact that even if we're just going straight up, ignore all the other factors I added with how much money they'll be eating up against the cap. Or again, Sam Howell comes with a package of players, a tackle, tight end, both maybe depending on how you do it, or just Caleb Williams by himself. All right, let's just say Sam Howell versus Caleb Williams or any of those other guys by themselves. That's it, just straight up. Let's ignore all the other factors. You got Caleb Williams, and even though his defense is bad, he has 3 losses. So you're assuming that the Commanders are better at the NFL level than USC is at the college level, which I can see that. And I would agree. But Caleb Williams is showing that he can't necessarily carry a team like people say that he can. He's an elite talent, arguably one of the most elite quarterback talents we've seen come out of the draft in a couple of years. But can he carry a team? He's showing that he can't do that. And I would say, honestly, even with the elite QB talent, I would feel like at least a minimum of one of those games was on him. Because even this last game, I know USC still gave up a lot of points, but Caleb Williams had that terrible strip sack where he held onto the ball too long, like Sam Howell used to do, and then got strip sacked for a fumble, and then they ended up taking the lead and never losing it. It became a 2-score game from there, and it was just insurmountable. So even though technically only one game was like mostly on him, that one was also him. So I think at minimum you can blame 1.5 games on him. So still elite quarterback talent. I'm not saying he's not, but can he carry a team? Again, just to put Sam Howell with a tackle and or an elite tight end, whereas Caleb Williams will be coming here by himself to how the team is currently constructed unless we eat up in free agency. Do you think he's good enough to carry a team? Maybe you're just thinking, okay, well, the team will just not be good this upcoming season, but we'll just build for the future. Maybe we'll be really good in a couple of years. Or maybe he's just CJ Stroud, even though the team isn't great around him, he still finds a way to win. You may not be a true playoff contender, but you're still finding ways to win. So there's that argument for Caleb Williams. Then you have Drake May, who's having a down year, but I still feel like he's an elite quarterback talent, and I feel like he's arguably more talented than Sam Howell, but Sam Howell's definitely more of a winner, for sure, in my opinion. Then you have Michael Penix, an elite quarterback talent and a winner, but he's older than you would like. He's literally older than Sam Howell by a few months. I don't think a lot of people know that. Michael Penix is older than Sam Howell, and his injury history is kind of does scare me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Sam Howell doesn't get hurt. Even as many hits as he takes, even the cheap shots he was getting against the Cardinals, against a lot of teams where people are hitting him late, hitting them in the head, tackling them awkward, he still hasn't missed a game. He hasn't missed, I don't even think a snap yet, or minimum like one snap. I think one time he came out of, I don't even think it was that. So, I mean, he's very durable compared to these other guys. And then also, going back to my point, even if you believe these question marks at quarterback, and yes, I am saying question marks because that's what they are. When you're drafting a quarterback, it doesn't matter how elite the talent seems, it's a projection. There's still a question mark, where Sam Howell, we kind of already know what we have. We don't have a complete answer, but he's less of a question mark than those guys. So again, just simply because those guys haven't thrown a single pass in an NFL game against NFL defenses, because again, first of all, they're not the NFL, and even in college, they're not in the Big Ten or the SEC, which have the best defenses in college football right now. So they're not even throwing against that. And then also you have Sam Howell. You're going against him, who literally has. Not only is he doing it at the NFL level, he's doing it against really good defenses in the Eagles and the Patriots and back-to-back games. So again, back to my point. Even if you believe that these question marks at QB are better than Sam Howell, just 1v1, just comparing Caleb Williams directly to Howell, Penix directly to Howell, May directly to Howell, or at least will be better than Howell in the long run, is there a big enough gap to make up the difference and not having an elite tackle and or an elite tight end to go with Howell? So I'm trying to just rephrase this question as many angles as I can for y'all to really think about it, man. It's not just simply getting Caleb Williams. First of all, we're not going to have the draft pick to get Caleb Williams, so you're going to have to package together some picks to trade up to get them anyway. Even Michael Penix may go quicker than our draft pick than we currently hold, because we're probably going to win a lot of games because of Sam Howell. We're in an ugly conundrum where it's like, I know y'all want to replace Sam Howell, and a lot of y'all are acting like Sam Howell isn't great, but Sam Howell's going to be good enough to win us some more games this season to where we're out of range to get the quarterback to replace him with. You see what I'm saying? And again, when I'm saying question marks as well, we're not even just talking about the fact that these guys haven't played at the NFL level yet, but even with all of those elite quarterback talents, they're going to have some growing pains, man, because Howell had to go through some growing pains, but he's made it through for the most part. He's worked on, again, he's fixed a lot of things. His ability to play against the blitz, to make pre-snap reads, to change coverages at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. And also, not only is Sam Howell on the other side of rookie mistakes and like young quarterback stuff, because I think that interception was just dumb. I think that was just not even a rookie mistake. I think year 10 Sam Howell would probably still make that really dumb interception he threw against the Patriots. I don't know what that was. I'm not blaming that on young quarterback stuff, because that was just completely blind. He just had a brain fart. I don't know what that was. But not only has Sam Howell got to the other side of the rookie growing pains, the young quarterback growing pains, he also got through it way sooner and way quicker than I thought he would. I mean, 10 games in his career, he's already passed it. So a lot of quarterbacks should, like, especially a guy drafted in the 5th round, or even if he wasn't, say Sam Howell was drafted in the 1st round, ignoring 5th round pick, with hhis talent, with the positives and negatives that he was coming into the draft with, people like high ceiling guy, low floor guy, there's a lot to work on mentally, all of the IQ stuff, nuance stuff, reading defense and stuff like that. Through 10 games, he's already seemed like he's figured out a lot of those things. Maybe not all of them. He's not a perfect quarterback yet. I'm not saying that yet. He still has room to grow. But a lot of the times when we're talking about quarterbacks like that, again, even ignoring the 5th round pick, even if he was drafted in the 1st round, a lot of those 1st round quarterbacks were like, yeah, I mean, it may take them a year or two. Maybe they need to sit for a little while behind a veteran to learn before we throw them out. All that type of stuff. Sam Howell's already past that. We don't have to worry about that. Again, because Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Michael Penix are not coming from going against the best defenses in college. So going from weak defenses in college to good defenses at the NFL level, there's going to be growing pains with that alone. Let alone all of the quarterback mental stuff that Sam Howell seems to be getting down quicker than I expected as well. Like reading defenses, pre-snap things like ID and potential blitzers, and then changing protections based on that info, changing plays with audibles based on pre-snap info as well, and just a lot more advanced, typically veteran quarterback stuff, like quarterback awareness, IQ, things like that, the nuance of the position. And also on top of that, he has some really elite traits, special traits, rare traits that you just can't teach. Like that short-term memory to bounce back from a really bad play, or to bounce back from a really bad series, a really bad drive, or a really bad quarter, or a really bad game, and act like it never happened, and to still go out there with the same confidence. You just can't teach that. You just can't, man. Also, how about something as simple as just simply knowing the playbook, the offense, and having chemistry with the receivers? You draft a quarterback, you got to reset all of that. Terry McLaurin and all of these guys have a new quarterback they have to gain chemistry with. Eric Bieniemy, or whoever our offensive coordinator is, has a new quarterback that he has to develop his offense around. Because Eric Bieniemy has shown that, yeah, he came with some things from the Chiefs, but he's also tweaked a few things to build around Sam Howell, because Sam Howell is not Pat Mahomes, so we got to adjust the offense in a certain way. That's more work he has to do. That sets us back in our development of this offense. You have to. I'm not saying it would take Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, or Drake May a year to get right under those circumstances, but they will not be ready week 1 2024 like Sam Howell will be ready. So are y'all ready to start that maturation process over again? Are you ready to start this whole offense over again? It doesn't matter if Eric Bieniemy's still here. It doesn't matter if the same receivers. If it's a different quarterback, everything changes. Even just the offensive line, like the snapping the ball from the center to the quarterback. There's a reason they run that over and over again in practice. That takes chemistry as well. The offensive line throughout the season is learning how Sam Howell likes to scramble, and vice versa. Sam Howell is learning how the offensive line likes to block. So if Charles Leno prefers, for example, I mean, it's just a lot of nuanced stuff. I'm just making this up for an example. If Charles Leno prefers to typically send an edge rusher to the outside rather than the inside, Sam Howell knows that. He knows, okay, when in doubt, step up into the pocket, move forward left to Charles Leno's side, because that's just his blocking habits. All of those little things, you're going to have to start over with a new quarterback. I'm just warning y'all, man. A lot of people aren't thinking about all of these random little things that, of course, you never know. Maybe Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Michael Penix come in and immediately get all of that, and they're right on it as of training camp. I'm just making y'all aware. That's possible, but that's just something to be aware of. Shouts out my boy Disco. He brought up a good point as well. Here's what I will say about Sam Howell. Does he still have to prove himself? Absolutely. I completely agree. Does he have flaws? Absolutely. But if you move on from him with the tools he has, I guarantee there's a coach/coordinator out there that thinks that they can fix him, because he has too many good traits. I completely agree. If we end up moving on from Sam Howell for whatever reason, some other team is going to look at him like, man, the Commanders are tripping. I will take him and turn him into a franchise quarterback. They're getting greedy by wanting to trying to find a slight upgrade in quarterback talent. They should have just stuck with the one they had, type of thing, and they'll be more than glad to take Sam Howell off our hands. But at the end of the day, again, I agree with Disco. Sam Howell has 8 more games to convince a lot of y'all and to prove to me that he could be consistent and that he should be the franchise quarterback moving forward. The traits are undeniable. There's no debate about the traits. But my point is, on my end, why I'm like, I think he should be the franchise quarterback, but why he isn't definitively the franchise quarterback yet, even in my eyes, is because I need to see it over a longer span of time, man. I need a larger sample size. 2 great games in a row is not enough. I need to see a great season, or at least finish this season strong. But of course, there were a lot of factors playing into why he wasn't so great a lot of the other games. I mean, just to run it back, I mean, week 1, but looked better in the second half. Week 2, pretty good, even though the first half started a little ugly. Week 3, bad. He just wasn't ready for what the Bills were going to do. That was one of the most complicated defenses he's ever gone against in his life. And it literally, even up to this point of going into week 10, he still hasn't really played a defense that did what the Bills tried to do to him. The Eagles have tried, the Patriots have tried, but the Bills succeeded at a higher rate. I don't know if that's just because their defense was better. They came with a better game plan. But I also just feel like it was Sam Howell's 3rd start of the season, 4th start of his career, and he just wasn't ready for that. That's the type of stuff that Bill Belichick draws up to scare quarterbacks and get them off their game. Again, exotic blitzes, changing coverages post-snap after you show one thing pre-snap, then after the ball is snapped, you completely change to something else. Bill Belichick tried to throw all that stuff at him. The Eagles threw some of that at him as well. The previous week, he adapted and balled out against it. So that's, even though he was horrible week 3, that's just because he wasn't prepared. And I blame Eric Bieniemy for some of that as well, and the offensive line, of course. Week 4, really good. Week 5, Week 6, really good first half, but I blame Eric Bieniemy for the play calling for that. Week 7, kind of bad, not good at all. And then week 8, great. Week 9, great. So again, he's getting better. Sometimes teams throw something at him that he's never seen, and then once another team does it, he acts like he's seen it before, adapts well to it, and eats them up. I love it. So I've seen enough to know that, hey man, I'm on the Sam Howell bandwagon. And again, like I mentioned earlier, he's proving every week and adapting to what NFL defense and defensive coordinators are throwing at him. Even though he had 2 back-to-back great games against the Eagles and Patriots, there's a noticeable difference in improvement in even just his pocket awareness and footwork going from the Eagles game to the Patriots game. Because again, he's had 2 back-to-back great games, but he's constantly improving. And you could tell Sam Howell is a better quarterback, even though he scored less points against the Patriots than he was even against the Eagles. There's a lot of factors that played into it, but even just his footwork in the pocket improved from the week 8 Eagles game to the week 9 Patriots game. It's like little things like that. He's just constantly getting better, constantly adapting. If he has a superpower, it's the fact that he gets better every week, every day. And I'm telling you, you can't teach that type of stuff, dog. To be that teachable, you can't teach that. I'm sorry. You just have it or you don't. Also, in these 8 games, some people are probably going to measure him on his wins. I'm going to go ahead and make this be known. I'm personally going to look deeper than that, and I try to isolate him from the problems that this team has as a whole. So I don't see it as Howell makes the playoffs or he's not the guy. Some people probably feel that way. I don't. I feel like he can be great, and we still lose, just like that Eagles game 2 weeks ago. I think that can happen quite a bit this season. So again, what's the difference? A lot of y'all favorite draft quarterbacks are doing the same thing, being great and losing right now. So what's the difference? Like, you know what I'm saying? Sam Howell could be great and lose. Some of y'all are going to want him gone. A lot of y'all favorite draft quarterbacks right now are doing the same thing, being great and losing. So I don't want to hear that being brought up. So yeah, I want everybody to do a good job of isolating Sam Howell from the outside factors on this team, most notably what this defense might look like going down the road. We might be scoring 30 points a game and still not win most of our games down this stretch, but it would be nice if we did and make the playoffs. We'll see. Also, I want to reemphasize that, again, I was not a big Sam Howell fan coming out of college, coming out of UNC. I'm converted now. I've seen the light. I've seen enough. It's literally that simple, man. Hope to see a lot more for the rest of the season, but hey, man, I'm a believer in Sam Howell. Also, shouts out my boy Sean75 on Twitter for bringing up a good point. Fan base is saying Howell is the best quarterback they've seen since Kirk Cousins. But some same fan base and some in the media wanted Kirk at 29 to be the franchise quarterback. Sam Howell is 23 and looks just as good, maybe a little bit better, and he's not the franchise guy. So it's a lot of all over the place. Now, granted, the different opinions kind of coming from different groups, but it is crazy that this same fan base as a whole, it's just the conundrum of we want Kirk Cousins but not Sam Howell, but Sam Howell is younger and looks just as good if not better. And also moving on, speaking of how the fan base feels about Sam Howell, how does the Commanders organization feel about Sam Howell? Well, from Dove Kleeman, however you pronounce it, Dove, whatever, NFL_Dove Kleeman, report, there's a strong belief in the Commanders building that Sam Howell is the team's franchise quarterback of the future. And just to let you know, this tweet was November 4th, so this was definitely after the Patriots game. Okay, I just wanted to make sure this wasn't before the Patriots game, because that would be even crazier. So after the Patriots game, that's what's being said from the organization, from rumors, whispers, reports, whatever it is. Don't know how valid they are, but don't know how legitimate they are. But, that's what we're hearing. They will now focus on building around him for 2024. This season, Howell has 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, second most in the NFL, with 2,146 passing yards, 66.9 completion percentage, and 7 yards per attempt. Howell has already taken a ridiculous 41 sacks this season through 8 games and is on pace to be sacked a record amount of times. That is crazy, though. That is kind of crazy, man. Pray for that boy, man. Oh, no, my fault. This is actually before the Patriots game. I'm tripping. This is before the Patriots game when this was said. So, just let y'all know, this is how the Commanders felt about Sam Howell before the Patriots game. And then he balled out. And then after the Patriots game, Jonathan Allen saw enough. He's like me. He's converted. If he wasn't converted before, he definitely is now. He's a Sam Howell believer. Look at what he says about Sam Howell in his press conference after the Patriots win.
What do you think of Sam Howell? Again, Sam Howell is he's our future. He's our quarterback, and I think we find our next quarterback for the 5-10 years, and I truly believe that.
Why so?
When I look at the plays he makes on the field, and not only does he make great plays on the field, his demeanor after bad plays and not playing well, he's always able to bounce back. And I've seen a lot of great quarterbacks in my time, played against a lot of them, and I think he has the potential to be one of them. So I can truly say this team is behind Sam Howell 100%.
And that's one of your leaders of the team. That's one of your faces of the franchise, man. Saying stuff like that. And I'm with him. I'm with him. Shouts out my boy Bucket, WFT fan. Shout him out all the time in my videos. Shouts out, follow him on Twitter. He brought up a great point. I believe Sam is the guy. If the league believes it, Washington will be one of the most intriguing places for a GM in a long time. So our best case scenario, let's hope Sam Howell is the guy. And so now the next GM, the next head coach, maybe we'll have a better pool of potential candidates. Because typically, the burgundy and gold situation is so ugly, especially while Dan Snyder was here, that Ron Rivera was the best coach we could get at the time. I know we have a lot of problems with Rivera, but shouts out to Rivera for even taking on the responsibility of turning this team around and making us respectable, which he did. He has a lot of faults, and I definitely do want a new head coach, whether it's Eric Bieniemy or somebody else. Eric Bieniemy stays offensive coordinator, whatever. But we got to give Ron Rivera credit there for sure. And so we got to think about it. The old burgundy and gold, Dan Snyder here, even Bruce Allen going back then and stuff, not having a franchise quarterback potentially yet. We've had, some decent quarterbacks, some fun quarterbacks, but we haven't had franchise quarterbacks until ultimately Sam Howell. So just the pool of head coaches and GMs we have to pick from that are even willing to take a chance to become our head coach or GM is completely different from what we have now. With Sam Howell potentially being a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract, draft capital, and a lot of cap space. Probably, if you want to release Charles Leno, trade him, whatever, we can have somewhere a little over $100 million in cap space. It's getting serious, dog. We're one of those places that if you really feel like you could be a really good head coach and or GM at the NFL level, you're looking at the burgundy of gold man, I can work with that. Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, a lot of draft picks for me to really leave my mark on this franchise immediately. A first round pick, 2 seconds and 2/3. We can do something with that. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man. And again, at the very worst, if the next GM or head coach or offensive coordinator don't see him as the franchise quarterback, like I mentioned earlier, somebody around the NFL will. And you could probably get some pretty good trade value in return because of his combination of talent, coachability, and ability to grow and adapt every week, like I've already spoke on. Plus, young age and very cheap contract that still has a couple of years left on it, but that's a worst case scenario in my opinion, because again, I'm screaming make him the franchise quarterback, do not trade him. But I'm just saying, as long as he keeps balling out, it's a win-win regardless. If he balls out for the rest of the season like I believe he will, like I'm projecting him to do, then win-win. He's either the franchise guy, or if for some reason they feel like he's not, you could probably get some pretty decent draft value in return. Because again, when you're number one in some stats for quarterbacks out of the entire NFL, including Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, your top 5 and a lot of other stats, and top 10 and a few others, there's a team out there desperate that would love a Sam Howell. If the Commanders don't appreciate him, there's another team out there that will, and will probably give us some good draft capital for it. But again, I'm really hoping we don't reach that point. I just want Sam Howell to be the guy. Now, moving on, how does the national media, just really the country, feel in general? Well, before we played the Patriots, talking with the Patriots, this is from JP Finley, 3-time Super Bowl winner Kevin Falk, about Sam Howell. Quote, "I've been very impressed. It's amazing that somehow a guy that people don't think gets it done, he gets it done." Unquote. That's from an opponent's legendary player right there, 3-time Super Bowl Patriots winner before the Patriots game even happened. Also, Dan Orlovsky, who, you know, a lot of people crowned as a quarterback guru, said, quote, on Twitter, "2 things I really liked from an improvement standpoint from Sam Howell's tape versus the Patriots." And again, when we're talking about young quarterbacks, it's not just production. I gave you the stats for that. It's the ability to improve, to adapt, to get better. You see the same thing twice and you counter it that second time versus just allowing it to work against you over and over again. Those are the biggest things I want to emphasize with Sam Howell and why I feel like he's a franchise quarterback. Yeah, being second in passing yards is fun, but that's not necessarily why I believe he's our franchise quarterback. It's how he's improving. So going back to Dan Orlovsky, number 1, having a plan versus the blitz, multiple times throwing hot or drifting away from pressure. Number 2, pocket presence / feel. Not many times of just sitting back at the top of his drop / climb. He's starting to move more. So, hey, man, he's improving. Dan Orlovsky even sees it. And then you have Billy Tinkle that pointed out, shouts out to him, that the NFL is actually starting to post Sam Howell. The Commanders have a quarterback that the national media actually cares to cover. Like, I mean, the play where he threw across his body, the one I showed earlier, where it's like, how did he even see him? It was the free blitzer coming through unblocked. He was running one way, had to throw it the other way. NFL just posted that on their account yesterday for everybody to see. 70,000 views. Since when do Commanders quarterbacks get that type of recognition, love, or even just a thought, oh yeah, he does exist, you know what I'm saying? So once he starts getting talked about on First Take consistently, then we're talking. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Are you on my side? Do you feel like Sam Howell is the franchise quarterback, or are you beyond me and you feel like he definitely is? You don't even need to see the rest of the games. Or are you like me, where I feel like he will be, but I still want to see these last few games? Or are you the third option that just feels like we need to go get Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, whatever we got to do to get another quarterback? Let me know which of the 3 groups you belong in. Again, I'm the one in the middle, but I'm leaning more towards the first one, way more than the third one. But I'm in that second group. I'm in that middle group where it's like I still do want to see a little bit more, but I definitely feel like based on his trajectory, he will be the guy. Let me know which side you are on in the comment section. I'm gonna try to do my best to read and reply to everything. And of course, if you love this channel, if you want to support this channel, if you love all the research and attention to detail I put in everything, support it by donating to the $RicoScores Cash App. Because again, YouTube is tripping right now, so I'm not getting anything. So if you want to support the channel anyway, I really appreciate y'all. Again, the Cash App is $RicoScores. Also, the PayPal is WilliamHC94@gmail.com. All of that information is in the description of this video, every live stream, everywhere, every time. And man, I'm gonna appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all with a video tomorrow. Catch y'all later. I'm out.